Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to White Collar Week, and this is our Tuesday night speaker series. Tonight we have Mike Morawski, who is a real estate investor. Has a very interesting story, and not only is he going to tell us a little bit about himself, but he's also going to tell us how he's been able to have a comeback through multifamily real estate investments. I have a few announcements to make, and then what we're going to do is we're going to watch the world premiere of our Start Here video. First time we're showing it live anywhere. It's been on the website and on social media since this morning, but we'll get to that in a minute. So just a few announcements. The first is on Monday nights, we have a white collar support group that meets. If you are directly justice impacted and you would like to join our support group, please go to our website at prisonist.org/contact. That's prisonist like feminist, prisonist.org. And you get all kinds of information. And also you can register as for our newsletter and emails. And also we will send you an invite. Let's see, on next Monday night is our 400th meeting. So we've been doing meetings now for 8 years, and honored to be of service to this community. And so if you are, again, directly justice impacted, please join us for our 400th meeting. And we're recording this. So out there, if you're watching this, know we would love for you to join us. And so it's Monday night, February 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, for our 400th White Collar Support Group meeting that's coming up. So what we're going to do now first is we're going to show you the video. So it'll be live for anybody who's actually on Zoom right now. And of course, recorded so people can watch it. And unless there's a technical glitch, which is always possible, we're going to show the video right now, and then I'll come back and introduce Mike, and we'll hear his chat. So let's see if I can do this. All right. So Bill, you'll let me know if we're there. Okay.
I will. I see the screen, so let's see what happens. Well, I was a CFO.
I was a lawyer.
School administrator.
CEO of my family's business.
I was a chief financial officer.
A trader.
I was the founder of a tech startup.
I was the CEO.
I used to do sales.
We had a family business.
Before I knew it, I was a few $1 million out of whack in all the books lining up. So I committed wire fraud.
I was charged with wire fraud.
Wire fraud, mail fraud.
I woke up to a dozen FBI agents at my door.
There was a warrant out for my arrest in connection with the false representations I had made on my SBA loan.
I got locked up, and the world fell apart.
Everything changes.
Because I had never had any run-ins with the law.
Having never been in trouble before, didn't have a clue what was ahead of me.
Tremendous shame, guilt.
Pure shock.
Say depressed, alone, lost. Felt like my whole world had got flipped upside down.
And my life was turned upside down.
It all crashed and burned.
Helpless?
Fear of the unknown.
Didn't really know what was really going to happen to me and my family.
We were looking at both parents potentially being in prison, and we had 2 young kids that were 10 and 8.
And so every day I got up, it was a battle. Every day I went to bed, I was battling in my head.
The darkest thing I could ever imagine, just weighing over every single thing that happened in my life.
Literally lost everything, felt, devastated, questioned my worth.
I had fallen into a fairly deep depression.
Really feeling alone.
Just felt like there was no one there in my community. There was no one there to reach out to.
I just felt hopeless, and I had no idea what I was going to do.
For the first time in my life, I'm usually the one that has all the answers to everything. I did not have any answers.
I went and hit the bottom of the barrel, rock bottom.
Couldn't, find anybody that I can talk to.
I started searching everywhere for answers.
We didn't want anyone to have to go through what we went through.
And I saw it and I said, support group. Like, you have a support group for people who are felons.
Every, Monday night we get on and have a group meeting, usually with a leader and a topic.
There's no cost to it, which is really a blessing as well.
I was around other men and women who were facing similar circumstances or had already faced it. And, I saw they were still alive. They still had a life.
Others that kind of been down somewhat of a similar road that you have been down?
It was just amazing, that I got on this Zoom call on Monday evening and saw all these other people who were in my exact situation.
And when I talked to them, they understood.
And then to find that there's a community of people that speak our language, that know what we're going through, so powerful.
It was like magic.
And immediately felt like, thank God.
Helping me realize what things were going to be like, and what I should be concerned about and what I shouldn't be concerned about.
So my goal was to educate myself as much as I possibly could about what to expect and how others dealt with it as well.
You had these people who had experienced and gone through this whole process.
And having someone say, oh, your experience is just like mine.
So that was, it was almost like my world had opened up again, that I could actually feel free to talk, not feeling judged.
I wasn't crazy when I thought that. There was this guy over here that thought that, and she thought that.
I love this group.
It's nice to know that others have been there and that they've been able to turn their lives around and live active lives in the community.
But the overall support of being in a room with people, a virtual room with people that are going through or have been through the same thing that you're coming up to.
A little bit more than just how do I deal with the practical elements of being arrested and going through a trial.
Non-judgmental, very informative.
Well, to me, it's like I'm a lifer now.
I've made friends. We all have similar stories and similar problems, and we help each other.
I think it's a great place to connect with other people that are going through the same thing that you are.
I might have a question or a concern, or I'm having a tough day. There's always somebody there to listen.
Not really sure what I would do or would have done without it.
And realizing that other people out there care about you and are going through the same experience is a way for you to figure out how to navigate those feelings.
There's somebody there. There's a community that hits on everything associated with the things that I struggle with.
I have a future. Yes, it's different.
I think it's fair to say that they contributed to saving my life.
You will feel what I felt. You will be able to experience that relief that comes from having people that understand and that will care and that will listen.
So join us at our White Collar Support Group's 400th meeting, February 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Please join us.
The White Collar Support Group. Start here.
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 Start here. Start here.
Anything else? I'm the one with the questions. What's wrong with me?
And that's our video. Thank you to everyone who participated in the video. Hold on, I need to shut this thing off. Hold on a second. So thank you for everyone who participated. You certainly, a lot of faces you recognize, even from the meeting tonight. So thank you. So without further ado, let me introduce Mike Morawski. I put his bio in chat, but I'm just going to read it real fast. We're honored to have him tonight. He's a 30-plus year real estate investment veteran. He's controlled over $405 million in real estate transactions. He's an entrepreneur, author, real estate trainer, public speaker, personal coach, and the chief investment officer of Resilience Equity, a multifamily hedge fund with a strong personal resilience and deep desire to help others live an extraordinary life. He has coached hundreds of real estate investors to fulfill their dreams. Mike shares his story of success, loss, and redemption to help others find hope and inspiration. One single focus of Mike's personal journey is to help others to see that their past does not dictate their future. So, Mike, take it away, and we're very happy to have you tonight.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate being here, and hello to everybody. And some people I know, some people I don't, and so I always look at it as opportunity for new friends. Boy, Jeff, that video was very sobering, and actually took me back to not too many years ago, where my life was on the edge. Tonight, my goal is to share some hope and inspiration with anybody sitting out here. And I always look at this as if I can impact one person or just touch one person in what I have to share, I've really done my job. I'm so focused on helping people see that you can't let your past define your future. And I say that a lot. And I look at it. I might have been behind a fence, but I think that there's so many people in the world that are trapped in their own prison in their mind, whether it be past abuse, failure, alcoholism, drug abuse, whatever it may be. We get trapped in these prisons. And I really, my whole goal is to help people see that you don't have to be trapped there. I built a big company. I had a company that was valued at over $100 million. And the world came to a halt in 2008. And as that happened, we lost everything. So this is a story tonight of success, loss, and redemption. I'm going to share with you the 5 mistakes that I made along the way. I'm also going to share with you my love or my passion for real estate, and why after the challenges I went through, I went right back into the same business. I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't come from a family that knew anything or had any real estate dealings other than a home that we owned. I actually remember sitting at 8 years old on the side of a swimming pool with my dad, and we were on family vacation and at some resort. And I remember asking my dad why all the rooms around that swimming pool and around that yard area. And I remember him in his infinite wisdom saying, well, people come here, they come to vacation like we did, and they pay the owner money. And that was the instant that I really realized that I wanted to be the owner of buildings and opportunities like that, to be paid money. And I don't know what it was, but at that point in my life, I really understood that. Growing up, I had multiple jobs along the way. I remember actually in my early 20s, my mom one day just getting so mad at me saying, why have you had so many jobs and why can't you keep a job? And it wasn't but 6 months later that I opened up a general contracting business, because I had worked as an electrician and a concrete mason and a carpenter and a plumber. And I learned enough to go into that business. Built a very successful general contracting business in the Northwest Suburbs of Chicago. We were building about 25 room additions a year. But as any good entrepreneur knows, and not sure how many entrepreneurs are on the call tonight, but we all know that you do everything. You are the marketing arm, you're the sales arm, you write the contracts, you order material, you do the bookkeeping, you do the scheduling. And I was still in the field banging nails. And I remember vividly one morning sitting up in bed and looking at my wife saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm just burned out. Fortunately, at that time, I had somebody knocking on the door to buy my business. Decided to sell the company, and said that we're going to sell the company and take a year off. But again, like any good entrepreneur, we don't take time off. We keep focused, we keep working. I went right out. We bought a couple of fix and flip properties, or today that's what they call them. Back then, I don't know what they called them. It's house hacking today, and it's a sexy way for people to get into the real estate space. Back then, people thought you were crazy. But I bought these two flats, lived in one of the units, rehabbed these buildings, and along the way, I met a real estate agent who was extremely successful. And I really liked his business and his business model and how he did things. So I went to him one day and I said, hey, I think I'd like to go in the real estate space. And he said, well, I think you'd be great at it. And he encouraged me to do so. Went and got my license, went back to him and I said, I'd like to shadow you and your team and see how you do things. He goes, I'm going to do one better than that. He said, I'm going to make you a cassette tape. So now I'm dating myself a little bit because I don't think we can find anything to make a cassette tape on anymore today. But he made me this cassette tape and I devoured it. I listened to it over and over and over again every day for months. Really wound up burning it out. But I did everything that he taught me to do on that tape. And I went in the real estate business as a real estate sales agent. My first 9 months in the business, I sold 78 homes. I was RE/MAX Rookie of the Year that year. I went on to build a team selling over 125 homes a year. Successful by the worldly standards, absolutely successful. Personal standards, not so. It came with a lot of baggage and a lot of challenges. But I loved what I did. I loved serving people. I loved helping people. And I grew this business. 2005 rolled around and I started to see the market start to shift and things soften up. And I wasn't exactly sure what was going to happen, but I did have this sense that I wasn't going to keep the production up that I had continually kept up. Well, I always wanted to be in the apartment business. Back when I was in the construction business, I did a lot of work for a couple of large apartment syndicators. And that means nothing more than what we do is we buy large apartment complexes and we partner with individuals to share in the profits. So we raise capital and buy apartments, we run them, operate them, manage them. So 2005, I decided I'm going to go in the apartment business. And I always look back and I say, it wasn't a decision that I made instantaneously. It was something that I had thought about for years. We all have this opportunity to visualize things and powerfully manifest things in our life. And, I feel like I had done that for years. Went in the apartment business and put my first deal together in 2005. And I said, wow, I get this. And all I understood at that point was in that business, you raise private capital from individuals and you marry it with a great real estate deal. And as long as everything goes well, you stay in the middle and everybody profits from it. Well, I had a lot to learn along the way, which I did learn. It didn't work out that sweet. Over the next 30 months, I bought $60 million worth of real estate. I raised $18 million to do that. I owned 4,000 apartments in 5 US markets. I also built a property management company managing those properties as well as others. We managed a total of about 7,500 units. And 2008 rolled around and the world started to go to hell in a handbasket. Our company was very unstable. So the first mistake that I made was that I grew way too fast as a company. I was over leveraged was my second mistake. I owned $60 million worth of real estate at 65% loan to value when I should have been I'm sorry, at 85% loan to value when I should have been at 65% loan to value. I was undercapitalized as a business owner was my third mistake I made. So those three mistakes, being very unstable, caused our company to start to have challenges. I had probably 12 companies. I owned 38 companies at the time. And I had 12 that I should have just let go to foreclosure and let a handful of my investors get hurt. But being the oldest born, we're the hero. We have to make everything go well and perform well. And we don't want to give anybody any bad news. So I thought, well, let me try and save my company. What I wound up doing was I went to my accountant and my attorney. I crafted a plan that was totally legal to move money from my profitable companies to my non-profitable companies to keep them afloat. Now, I thought we were in a recession. I thought this will last 17 or 18 months. I had been through a couple of these cycles before economically, and normally there's a 10 or 12% correction in the marketplace. Well, at this point, this 2008 event went on for 7 or 8 years with a 45% correction in the marketplace. That's a pretty tough storm for any business owner to weather. I moved this money back and forth thinking that, well, when the markets change and the markets bounce back, I'll be able to put the money back. And now I'll really be the hero because I would have saved everything. Well, that's not actually how things went. I moved that money around. And as a result of that, I didn't tell my investors what I had done. So for non-disclosure issues, I was charged on wire fraud and mail fraud charges and wound up being sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. I thought my world was over. I thought, I'd built this great company that we were going to be able to handle things. We'd mitigate this storm. And all of a sudden, it was over. So over 30 months, I had this great success and hit a wall. I thought my life was over. The next 2 years of my life were very taxing. That period of time from getting in trouble, being indicted, watching over your shoulder every single day, hating when the telephone rings, making your stomach sink because you don't know who's calling, to that ultimate day that you finally wind up being sentenced. The uncertainty and the unknownness of that period in between drives wedges between relationships, between family. People around you disappear. They don't want anything to do with you. And you're kind of left to fin this effort yourself. 2013, I get sentenced in April and report to Duluth, Minnesota to federal prison in July of 2013. I went into prison and we all know prison's probably not the best place to cry every day, but I cried for 18 months, every day. Hysterically, there were times that a couple buddies would have to come up and get me out of the balcony of the chapel because I was in the cradle position and couldn't move. I was 3 weeks into this 10-year sentence, and my wife decided that she was going to divorce me, and it wrecked me. I really thought my life was over. And here's what I always tell people. I say, hey, I never flew private. I didn't have a boat. I didn't live in a fancy house. I didn't have a fancy car. I was a neighborhood baseball coach. I was home most nights for dinner, had a great marriage, and all of a sudden, I got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with 3 men I didn't know, nor did I like. And then my wife decided she was going to leave, just absolutely destroyed me. 6 weeks in, I walk in the gym one day. And I always say, hey, I was just window shopping. I wasn't looking for a workout. I wasn't looking to get involved. And I had gone from running marathons to being 35 pounds overweight. I absolutely hated myself. I actually wanted to kill myself, but I didn't have the courage to do it. This guy walks up to me in the gym that day and he goes, hey, look, he goes, don't let these people beat you. He said, all they want to do is take from you everything you've ever known. They can take your business, they can take your money, they can destroy your family. But what they can't take is who you are and what you're made of. What they can't take is what helped you to build that $100 million company. They can't take your knowledge and your desire. And I don't know what it was. I know this, though, that we all have these defining moments in our life. And either we have a choice at that point that we can either go with the defining moment or ignore it. And this switch flipped for me that day. And I said, okay. He said, come to my class, start working out. You'll start to lose weight. You'll start to feel better. And I said, yes. And I still to this day have no idea why. But I started going to this guy's class and he worked my ass off. And I worked out. I started losing weight. I started to feel better. I had more energy. I started to look at things differently. From there, I wound up going to college. I got a bachelor's degree in theology. I wrote 2 books. I wrote a home study course. I wrote an ethics course. I taught real estate investing, property management, and ethics in prison for 6 years. I always say that's pretty ironic, right? Teaching a federal prisoner teaching ethics in prison, right? During my time, I met a professor from the University of Minnesota, and he and I co-authored a paper together that we had published in the Business Journal of Ethics that today gets taught at the collegiate level for forensic accounting and sales and marketing classes. I came home from prison in 2020, just when they closed the world down for the pandemic. So I went from one prison right into another. But I think that 10 months of being on home confinement when I first came home was a blessing, actually, that COVID was going on. I came home, though, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go into coaching and training business. And I did. I started to launch a coaching business, a training business. And during that time, I started to underwrite. Underwriting is just a fancy word for saying we analyze real estate deals and see whether or not they'll work. And I knew that I would have to teach people how to do that. So I started underwriting deals and building relationships with brokers around the country. And I found a deal. And I went to 2 of my coaching clients at the time. And I said, hey, I think we should partner on this. I think we can get this done. So we started down the road of putting that property together and bringing it to the market and syndicating it. During that process, my securities attorney said, hey, I think I can go back and get you approved by the SEC to go back and legally raise capital and be an issuer of securities. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think she'd be able to do it. And she did. About 3 months later, we had never talked about it again. About 3 months later, she came back, said, hey, look what I have, and showed a piece of certificate on the Zoom call, and I was amazed. I couldn't believe that she had gotten it done. So today I am back in that space. I look at real estate deals. I teach people how to look at real estate. We buy real estate together, we raise capital together, and we run and operate that real estate. And today people are making money. You know, 2 of the other mistakes I made was that I didn't pay attention to the details. Today I pay more attention to the details. I make sure that I watch the numbers. I don't just say that I have somebody else watching the numbers, but I do it myself. And I make sure that I watch what's going on. The 5th mistake that I made was I didn't listen to people around me who saw things that I didn't see. In 2008, my ex-partner was, I was at a closing in Cincinnati, and we were getting ready to close one of the biggest real estate deals at the time that we were buying. It was about 200 units in size. And I'm at the title company all day wondering why my office hasn't wired the funds yet to close that deal. So finally, about 10 to 5 that afternoon, I get a phone call from my partner, who I tried to get a hold of all day, who says to me, hey, I don't know how to tell you this. And I don't know, what the first thought is that would go through your mind. But for me, it was like, tell me what? And he proceeded to tell me that he moved money from an escrow account into an operating account, thought that he could have the money put back by the time closing happened. And I went crazy at that point. I said, I told you when we started this business that was one of the key principles. We never did that. We never commingled funds. That was my first place where I really should have paid attention. Long story short, I went back to the office. We wound up dry closing on that property, which means we signed all the documents. I said, I'll have it funded by Tuesday. Went back. I sold his equity in the property to raise the rest of the capital over the weekend. We wound up closing that property, and it happened to be one of the best performing properties that we owned at the time. But that was on Wednesday that incident happened. Now, I never told my wife about business. I never shared anything with her. I would come home once in a while and say, hey, we closed another deal, or I met this investor. I always talked about good things. I always wanted to keep that entrepreneurial pain and aggravation away from her, and keep her from worrying. Well, on Friday night that week, we go out to dinner with my partner and his wife. And on the way home that night, she looks at me and she says, I don't trust him. And what do? I think I'm a good husband at this point. And I say to her, I go, don't worry about it, honey. I have this under control. We're going to be fine. And I didn't have anything under control at that point, and I knew it. A week later, I'm out to lunch with my attorney. And we had an attorney that worked in-house for us, and one that, I had my personal attorney outside. And we're at lunch, and we leave lunch, and this is a big guy. He's about 6'6", 350 pounds, not known for personal affection. In the parking lot, he puts his arm around me and he says, hey, I don't know how to tell you this. He goes, but I don't like what's going on and what your partner's doing. I said, hey, Bob, don't worry about this. I have it under control. Now, here's two people within a 7-day period that are telling me they see things that I'm missing. And I totally ignored those red flags. So I tell people today, I say, those 5 mistakes, don't grow too fast. There's no need for that. You don't have to over leverage yourself. Make sure you're capitalized as a business owner, no matter what business you're in. Pay attention to the details and listen to people around you. Here's what I know today, that your spouse knows more than you know. The people closest to you see things that you miss. Pay attention to those details. I don't have any regrets though today. The biggest regret that I have is I have 3 of my 5 children that don't talk to me. And all I do, is pray for them every day and pray that God opens the doors at some point here in our lives. I had to learn forgiveness. I had to learn that it was really important for me to forgive my ex-partner. And I'm not saying I didn't break the law, because I certainly broke the law in what I did. And I took responsibility for what I did, and still do to this day. But I had to learn to forgive him. I had to forgive my ex-wife. And there were multiple other people that left at a time of need. They say when you get indicted and you go to prison, that can be the worst time of your life. It's like you die and your life continues on in front of you. And that's exactly how I felt. But I had to forgive those people around me, because I couldn't go on and hold that. So I try to encourage people today that forgiveness is so important. And gratitude is extremely important. Every day I count my blessings that not only am I on the outside today, but I have this life that I've designed since I've been home that I would not want to replace ever. And I try to walk daily in integrity, with a degree of ethics, in order to give back to others. Jeff, again, thanks for having me here. I appreciate that. And I just want people to know too, if there's ever anything that I can do, a phone call, a shoulder, whatever you need, feel free to reach out to me.
Mike, that was sensational. Thank you so much. If anyone would like to ask Mike a question or share, please put your name in chat and I will call on you. Please don't raise your hand, put your name in chat. We're going to start with Bill and then Brent.
Mike, thank you. Thank you so much. That was just terrific. And I will say, and I think this would probably be seconded by a number of people here, you are not the first person who never listened to the people around them. You know, and I think that's something that we all kind of fallen prey to. So I wanted to ask you, now that you're back on this road, how do you stay transparent about your past? And so that way, the people that you do business with are aware that they know, and that it helps with, I'm curious about how you're able to blend that in to maintain your integrity.
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Bill. When I first came home, I didn't think that I would ever raise capital again. I didn't think that I'd ever want to really share my story. It took me probably 4 months before I went out and told my story to somebody else. And I was on a meetup one afternoon. It was a lunchtime deal. And I was probably, 3 months into telling my story. And so I still hadn't been home for a year yet. And some guy on the meetup goes, "Hey, are you raising capital yet?" I said, "No, I don't think I ever will." He said, "Why?" He said, "I don't think I'd want to invest in anybody other than somebody like you, because you've already made the mistakes. You know what to look out for." And it made me think that I have something to give back to others. I have this merit badge that people don't have. And, not that it's a great one, but it definitely is one. And so I've been on probably 250 podcasts. I've been on 25 public stages, and I tell my story every chance I get. I have a couple of my own podcast platforms, which are all real estate related. And, I never hide it. So I'm very transparent about it. When I get on the phone with an investor, I tell my story if need be, but I don't open up with it. I went probably a year and a half where every conversation I had, I opened up with it. And I'm at a place in my life today where I don't think that's necessary, because I have track record and people do look me up. And it's surprising to me today how many people actually will say they don't want to do business with you versus people who say they will do business with you. It's very few. And I think it's because of being transparent. There's guys that I was in prison with that have come home, they've changed their name, they're not doing anything. They don't want to, they want to hide their past. A really good friend of mine, he won't talk about it, and he won't talk about it in business situations. Finally, I got him to a point to start talking about it. And now he says, "Man, I feel so much better." So we can't carry that around. We have to be transparent about it. And that's on the personal side. On the business side, my partner and I today are extremely transparent about what we do through, media communication and emails and online communication with our investors. So.
Well, thank you so much. I really loved your presentation, and what a really informative answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Up next is Brent and then Naya.
Well, Mike, you already know I'm a big fan of yours. And I think, when I was listening to your story, because I know your story, and it's so authentic and you tell it so well, but the real like gas that fuels your engine is that you're just a man of action. There's so many people that think about, I've been through hell. Um, can I get back up? Should I get back up? Do I deserve to get back up? And Mike, you just did it. And you've done it over and over. And I follow you weekly on all the different travels that you're in. And I think that's the most inspiring thing for people who've been through the nightmares that we've been through, is that you can never quit stepping. You can never quit taking action. And it's amazing what happens when you take action, because like you said, you're transparent. You lead with it, or your record leads with it, or whatever that happens. You are who you are, and that's why you are where you are. And I think that's why I'm such a big fan of yours, is that it's all about, even if you don't have the confidence at the time, you just take action with it. And I think that's what's so encouraging about your story.
Thanks, Brent. I appreciate it. And I'm a fan of you as well. So
Thank you, Brent. Beautiful sentiments. Naya, you're next.
Hi. Sorry about that. Well, this is just fascinating. I think what I like most about this meeting is that this is just such an inspiring story. I had a question just about, it's similar to what Bill's question was, but what was it that made you make the decision that you were going to tell your story? I don't even know if you can go back to when you did it, but just what was running through your mind when you decided, I have to be transparent, I have to do this. And then that's my first question. And my second question is, my entire life, everyone has always said, a safe investment is real estate. That's what I've always heard. If you have property, you're going to be okay, and I just wanted just a little advice on, if I was to want to invest, not anywhere near at the level that you've been doing, raising funds and all that, but just investing in property, what would be your advice?
Well, of course, I'm going to tell you to invest in real estate. I'm not a stock market guy and never have been. And if you buy a property right, you're going to do well. So it's all in what market you're in and how you evaluate that. But to answer your other question about what made me decide to share my story, I was feeling like I wasn't giving all of who I was, and that there was a lot of trepidation on my part for trying to build a business, but not letting people know who I really was, or what had happened, or what I had done. And as I started to tell my story, and people were like, "Wow, good for you. Thanks for sharing that." I got more comfortable with it. I think you just, it's like anything else, you take the leap, and the more comfortable you get with it, the more you do it. And, it's, I wish I had a better answer for that, or something more, enlightening, but it's just, I was carrying this monkey on my back that I needed to get rid of. And by sharing my past and my history and my shame and my guilt and everything else, I was able to get rid of all that by sharing my story. Because I don't have to walk around today going, "God, what if somebody finds me on Google, or they read that stupid article?" People pay thousands of dollars to have the internet cleaned up on them, and I don't think it ever really goes away. As much publicity and press that I have out there, good, positive stuff, that stupid one article that hit the news the day I got, charged, is still out there on the front page of my Google. It's just not going to go away. So, people are going to see it no matter what.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Nay. I have a question that came in on the chat. Did you have restitution? If so, how did that interact with your new businesses post incarceration?
Yeah, so I have restitution. I have, $18 million, which, is a whole nother conversation, but I pay, what's required of me by the court to pay. And, we'll see what happens over the next 18 years. So.
Thank you, Mike. Let's see. Up next question is by Mike and then Kay.
I just had a quick question. You're in a relatively, other than your image, which you're able to restore, you're in an area that's sort of regulated with some licensing. You mentioned you had your real estate license. I'm just curious if you were able to get your license back, or if there was any other credentials that you were able to get back post your situation. I'm a former CPA, and I have some issues with some of my credentials that I've lost. I'm just curious how you've gone about going through that process.
Sure. So I didn't think I'd ever get any approvals or licenses back. I did go to the state of Illinois and talk to the real estate legal team there, and they felt that based on the length of time and my charge and what I had done on the redemption side and who I had become, because I've changed a lot as a person, that I would be able to get my real estate license back. I don't need my real estate license for what I do. I did get a written approval from the SEC to be an issuer of securities and to sponsor real estate deals and raise private capital again. So I didn't think that had happened, but I had a securities attorney that felt that she could get it accomplished, and she did.
Thank you.
Do you issue PPMs or private placement memorandums?
Yeah, is there a question around that?
I was just asking if that's the instrument that you file and that you go through your capital raise.
Yeah, our deals are all Reg D, with a PPM and an LLC agreement, and they are, highly regulated. SEC said that I needed to disclose it for 6 months, and then I wouldn't have to disclose it anymore. And during my panel hearing with them, I said I will always disclose it. And they were more than gracious in, giving me that approval again.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Let's see, we're running out of time. We have one last question, I think. Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to moderate them.
Kay has a question.
Oh, Kay has a question. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Michael. So quickly, not to revisit the restitution question, I will share that I have a lot of millions of dollars in restitution. And often what I feel, I'm 2 years into my supervised release. And I often feel like there's no motivation for me to succeed in any grand level ever again because of all of the things hanging over my head, back taxes, tax liens, restitution, etc. Obviously it hasn't been a bar for you, but in a little bit even more mundane than that, how did you navigate probation? I assume when you got home on during COVID times, you were on home confinement, supervised maybe by a halfway house, then supervised release. They want to know everything you're doing. Usually with financial crimes, you can't take out credit. You can't do so many things. So I was just dumbfounded at how and happy for you and how quickly you found your legs again and how you navigated the federal probation part of it.
Yeah, so I had a PO that was not a very nice person. And I had a lot of challenges along the way. And I actually had a job that I could, could have had. And, while you're on probation or in the halfway house and you're under their control, they regulate everything. Well, they wouldn't let me have the job or take the job. I wound up taking them to court on an emergency motion. And, the judge asked them, why won't you let Mr. Morawski have this job? And, the government right in court said, because he will, because he's got a title of a vice president. And the judge was, he thought it was comical. He laughed at him, threw us out of court, said, I'm going to write an opinion. He wrote an opinion about it. You know how far an opinion goes. He said that he highly suggests they let me take the job. I offered to change the job description, and and they wouldn't. They just wouldn't let me work. And I think at that point I got an attitude like, you know what, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to show you. And I just started putting one foot in front of the other every day. I go back to what that guy in prison said to me: don't let these people beat you. All they want to do is take from you everything you've ever known or had. And, what they can't take is who you are. And so, I go back to that. And, listen, I think we all know prison is a business, and they stay in business because they keep other people out of business. So I hope that helps. Jeff, I'm really bumping up against time here.
I know.
I apologize.
We want to be respectful of your time. We're going to sign off. If you can just give everyone your contact information, and then we'll let you go.
I am putting it in the chat as we speak. Feel free to reach out. If I can do anything for anybody, phone call, whatever, don't hesitate to call.
Right. Mike, thank you so much for being our guest. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening. And thank you everybody for tuning in. And please join us at our 400th meeting of the White Collar Support Group. You can find out information on our website, prisonist.org. And we will put all of Mike's contact information in the show notes as we post it. So blessings to everyone. Have a wonderful night. And thank you again, Mike.
My first email is wrong, so I redid it in the chat. So good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
Fantastic.